this is just as an intro to me. I've been playing this game for way too long. Been playing this since day one. The count in question dates all the way back to actually around Sanaki's banner. I have spent money, full disclosure, on this game, but it's never been for competing. It was purely for my own purposes. I have not spent at all for more than a year, and I have no desire to spend at all. That said, I do think it's completely possible to play this game and compete at the highest level without spending a single dime. So that all being put aside of introduction of where I am, for me as an AR player, I have sat usually typically at the highest levels since the introduction of AR. The first week, to make people feel better about where I was, I actually did miss Throne. And it was purely because I didn't know you could have multiple teams. I had one team. As embarrassing as that sounds. From then, I have not missed a single golden crown, golden thing, golden throne since. And I don't think I probably ever will. In terms of what I'm using for AR, I do not use any merged mythics at all. Both of my mythics are from free orbs, and they're both minus attack, funnily enough. A free and a minus attack. So, with that, I've competed at the top of AR since its introduction. Typically ranking around 500 or so. Alright. But yeah. So most of this discussion is going to be coming from the perspective of someone who's been on the top of AR most of its for most of its lifetime. I didn't get into tier 21 right away. I think I got it about a month after the first few people got into it. And it used to be around like 3,000 people. Nowadays, it's a pretty big classroom. It's about 20,000 to 30,000. So the skill range in it varies a lot. Alright, so that's the very basics of me, AR, etc. And where most of my discussions is going to be coming from. I just thought it was important to lay out where this is all coming from, because the perspective of someone in AR is going to vary widely depending on how much they spend, depending on how merged their mythics are, if they're using double mythics, if they rank for top 1k, front page, etc. So the main reason I don't shoot front page is because I feel like it's very resource intensive and it's very mythic merge intensive. Nowadays, I don't think you can really go for front page without a perfect defense and without 2 plus 10 mythics. Alright, so this is all aside, and now let's actually go into the discussion, right? So the very basic question when it comes to AR is, why should you care to even do AR? Why should I even spend time doing AR? Why can't I just cruise? I mean, that's a valid question. Relatively speaking, why put the effort and time when I can just do my matches in about 5-10 minutes and just stay at T21 the marginal differences, they don't matter to me. So for that, it's a valid argument, especially if you're on the more casual side, but there is an actual... It matters in the long run, in terms of what it means. So on a week-by-week basis, it's marginally different. It's about 3 flowers, 15 stones, 3 grails between tier 21 and 24, and between tier 21 and 27, it's only about 6 flowers, 30 stones, and 6 grails. But you have to think about that in the sense of what it means on the larger scale. So I broke that in between different macrochasms. So the difference on a monthly scale is you go 136 flowers, 840 stones, 160 grails for cruising on tier 21. If you're doing it mildly seriously, going to tier 24, you get 148 flowers, 900 stones, and 172 grails. And if you're going for tier 27 every week, you get 160 flowers, 960 stones, and 184 grails. So on a monthly scale, there's a discrepancy of about 24 grails and 120 stones and 24 flowers, which adds up. You got to think about that, how that adds up on a monthly, then to a yearly scale. All that will add up into very large differences. So even if you're not trying to necessarily compete for the top level, at least going for the mid-level, well, it mean there's not a huge discrepancy to tier 21, 24, and 27. But yeah, so I'm gonna push it and go into the yearly basis. On a yearly basis, it's 1,632 flowers, 10,080 stones. Is that right? Yeah. No. That's 1,080 stones. Then let me do the math on that again. Sorry. Production. I thought I had this right. Okay. It should be 12 times 840. No, that adds up. Yeah. So it's 10,080 stones. And then 160 times 12. Yeah, 1920 grails. And on tier 24 cruising, it's 1776 flowers. 10,800 stones and 2064 grails. So as you go on a longer basis, the discrepancy becomes bigger and bigger. So once you go into the cruising, the difference between tier 21 24 already starts making a huge difference on a yearly basis. So even if you don't necessarily want to shoot every time for tier 27, I make an argument that you should at least try to take it semi-seriously and go for the mid-ranks. So even if you're not going to take it super seriously, you don't think you can compete for the front pages, going at least for the mid-rank will make a difference in your merges, in your flowers, your grails. And now, here's the more fundamental question and answer I have for why should I bother? And for that, my basic answer is you have to think about it in the same way a lot of people compete in a lot of games. If you've ever played a trading card game, a fighting game, or any sort of a semi-competitive game that has a local scene, if you go to most of those events, usually those events don't pay out very high. If you go to locals, you'll pay $5. You go and play a scene of maybe like 50, maybe for Smash Brothers, if your local scene's pretty big, and you'll come out several hours playing, and you'll come out with maybe $100 out, depending. It's not actually a lot. For the time investment, monetarily, you don't actually get much at all for competing those games. But it's more of the desire to compete. And it's something that's in a lot of people. It's wanting to just show that you are good at what you're putting your time invested into. So, in the way you gotta think about it is, how can I put it? I guess it's kind of justifying the time you put into something. So I'm not going to argue and say it's 100% worth it to everyone. But for me, as someone who's played fighting games, who's played trading card games, and now does this semi-seriously, I like the thrill of competition. I like seeing these resources I get and reinvesting them back into the units, and then see my units become better, my defenses get better, my offense get better. So yeah, it's just a matter of just the thrill of competition, and also you get this community of people who just are looking, who are like-minded to you. So that's the basic of why, in my opinion, it's worth it to compete.